Well, we'll see. How's that?
You see the file manager, but the mouse is static.
Oh, let me, let's try it this way.
Oh,
Can you
that
see that?
looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right, so I'm recording. Um, just going to do kind of a quick overview. Um, the intent of this class is to prepare you for the technician class exam, which we call Element 2. There used to be 4 classes: a novice, technician, general, and extra. And they've done away with the novice, so we just have elements 2, 3, and 4. And they're sequential. You have to pass the technician before you can take the exam for the general, and then you have to be a general before you can do an extra. The general class gives you a lot more capability. It allows you to operate in the HF frequency range, where as a technician, you're basically limited to VHF and UHF with walkie-talkies, and they're operating at those higher frequencies on FM. I'll try to do a little show and tell and demonstrations as we go, and I use Dan Romanchik's No Nonsense guide, which is a copy I sent you. I kind of liked his because the way he arranged it, and he starts with the basic electronic stuff first and does the rules and regulations and things like that at the very end. I do these things in association with 3 different clubs: the Indian River Club, the Platinum Coast in Melbourne, and the Kennedy Space Center Club. And this chart I had modified because I'm also teaching a class for some homeschool students, and it's 18 weeks long. So
Okay.
This is going to be 10 weeks, and because there's 10 sub-elements. So we'll do a sub-element each week. Some of the reasons why people get licensed: there's a lot of clubs are very big into contesting, where you try to make as many contacts with in a certain period of time, like 12 or 24 hours. There's people that like to do what we call QRP, that's reduced power, and they try to make contacts on 5 watts or 10 watts. There's people that just do Morse code, that's called CW. Other people like to do single sideband, which is a voice mode that lets you get greater distances. And then there's digital modes, which have become popular, where you use your computer to assist, and it does the decoding. So it's very easy to make, even though you don't talk, you can make contact with people 10,000 miles away. Mm-hmm. Most of the clubs will have what we call field days, where they used to go out in the field and operate. Pretty much they find some place that's air conditioned and do it.
Makes sense.
Especially in Florida. There's fox hunts, where you hide a transmitter and people try to go around with directional antennas and try to find it. There's some interest in what we call pico balloons, where you launch a 3-foot kind of a party balloon, they're Mylar, with a little tracking device that sends out whisper protocol. And they go up about 40 to 45,000 feet. And we have one person in the Melbourne Club who's had one up for over a year. I've had 4. The longest one was about 2.5 months. The most recent one didn't quite make it all the way around. It disappeared over the northern territory of Alaska. People talk to the space station and other satellites up there. Some people play with what we call moon bounce, where you actually bounce the signal off of the surface of the moon to somebody else. That can be like halfway around the world. There's all these acronym things called POTUS, SOTA, and so forth, where POTUS stands for Parks on the Air, where people go to a federal or state park that has a number and operate there. We call it activating, and they get, I guess, points for that. There's SOTA, where you go to a summit. That's hard to do in Florida and operate.
Mount Dora, come on.
Oh, yeah. It might qualify. There's LOTA, which is Lighthouse on the Air.
Ooh.
And also the International Lighthouse and Lightship Weekend, which we just had, where our NASA club operates at the Cape Canaveral Lighthouse. They also do NOTA. A lot of the NASA centers, it's NASA on the Air, and they operate on anniversaries of certain space launches. I actually don't remember what MOTA is. Oh, museums on the air.
Oh.
And actually, I did make contact with a museum on a submarine in Italy once. And then they had VOTA for year before last, which was volunteers on the air.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the ARL members are volunteer examiners and instructors, which is what I am. And they had a thing for like a year where you got points depending on what level they were. If they were a ARL officer, you got more points and stuff. A lot of people just like to build equipment, build antennas. You mentioned the emergency, the public service, the MCOM, which is Emergency Management Communications. There's ARES, which is Amateur Radio Emergency Service. And there's RACES, which is the Radio Amateur Civilian Emergency Service. And then that one works in conjunction with the Civil Defense Department. I don't know, I guess it's a department. And there's also Skywarn, where you do a little training and you learn how to spot various types of weather things and report it back. As a technician, you can make use of local repeaters, and a lot of times they have nets in the evening where a bunch of people check in and, talk a little bit, transfer information. There's some digital voice, which if you happen to be in an area where you have a digital voice repeater, there are D-Star, DMR, and Fusion, where D-Star is pretty much proprietary to ICOM and Kenwood radios. DMR is most of the Chinese radios that you find, and Fusion is Yaesu, which is another big brand, a Japanese brand like ICOM. In fact, those are the two biggest. So on the technician Um, the exam will consist of 35 multiple choice questions. You have to get 26 or more correct. The questions are from a question pool of 407 questions. It's grouped into 10 sub-elements and 35 groups, so you wind up with one question from each group. We'll be going over 4 groups today, so it'll wind up being 4 of the exam questions, but we'll actually go through about 40 questions.
Okay.
Each group is approximately anywhere from 8 to 14 or 15 questions. They're not all the same size. Before you take the test, you will need an FRN, which is your FCC registration number. It's free. You just go to the FCC site and fill out the application. It's basically your name and that information, and they assign you a number. And that's good for any kind of FCC license, whether it's the family radio or the GMRS or amateur license or even commercial. They all use that FRN number, but you have to have that before you take the test. And some form of ID, typically a driver's license. You can bring a calculator. You can't use your cell phone as a calculator.
Yeah, obviously why. Yeah.
That TI one, which used to sell for about $14 at Walmart. It's a very good one. It's got a solar cell, so it doesn't require batteries, as long as you keep it where light can shine on it for a while. Usually they'll have calculators if you forget or don't have one. The problem with that is not all calculators work the same.
Mm-hmm.
And you, from experience, I can tell you that I forgot mine on my extra, and it caused me to miss a question. If you need to write things down, you can use the back of the answer sheet. You can't bring any notes or anything with you. It's very important that you read the question carefully, maybe twice, because sometimes the way they're worded, it can confuse you. And also read all 4 answers before you answer.
Yep.
Because you find one that seems like it's right, only the real one is down at the bottom, or it might be all the above are correct.
Yeah, I used to teach my students that. I'd tell them, hey, first answer the questions that you know, then come back, answer the ones you think you know, and then guess on the rest.
Now, if you do that, that's fine. But
You still have to read the carousel.
Oh yeah, no. That is absolutely. That's
Yeah.
why I said answer all the ones that I know this. Let me check these answers, make sure. Yep, absolutely. Because it was like that on all their tests. Hey, where is the test location?
You can find where exams are if you go to the ARRL website. There's usually, if there's any amateur radio club around, they will do exams.
Okay.
There's also online ones that you can do.
Okay.
Those are pretty easy. I've been involved in a number of those with the club in Huntsville. What I was going to mention, if you skip around, when your answer sheet is going to have little circles to fill in for your answer for each question.
Okay.
A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
And if you skip a question, you need to be very careful that you fill in the circles on the right line.
Yeah.
Because if you get to the end and things are messed up, you've got a problem. So about the only thing we could do is give you a new answer sheet. Let you start over.
Gotcha.
And also, there's a number of times that D, all of these choices are correct, is the correct answer. These are some of the reference things. There's an ARL technician license manual that sells for about $30 or more. I think it's around 30 on Amazon. They have some very good, these basic electronics, radio, and antenna books.
Mm-hmm.
I think they go for about $20. The Radio Amateur's Handbook, which you don't really need for the exam. If you get licensed, it's probably a good thing to have. I think they're running like $60 or $70. It weighs about 10 pounds. Also, the antenna book. It's a big, thick one, too, and a little on the pricey side. There's a more recent one called Here to There. It's about radio wave propagation, which is very good. It's all about the effect of solar flares and how it affects the ionosphere and
Mm-hmm.
tropospheric ducting and all those kinds of things. We'll talk a little bit about that, but there's a lot more of it on the general exam. Like I said, I'll give you a link to my YouTube channel. If you can watch Dave Kassler, he's got a YouTube channel. He's been teaching this stuff for years and years for ARRL. There's a few videos out there that actually DirecTV produced. One's called How Does an Antenna Work, which is very good. Another one on electromagnetic radiation, and another one on spectrum and modulation. If you're into physics at all, if you can find the lectures by Walter Lewin, who taught at MIT for like 30 years, they're fantastic. I wish I had had a physics teacher like that. And also, Kathy Joseph has a site called Kathy Loves Physics, where she goes and does the historical stuff of all these people like Tesla and Edison and all those, and what really happened. In a lot of cases, the people that you familiar with that have credit for doing things didn't really do it. Somebody else did.
Mm.
There's practice sites. The ARRL site has a practice exam for technicians that's free. You don't have to be a member. Hamstudy.org is probably the most popular one that most people like, because it, as you miss questions, it keeps bringing the questions you miss back into the mix. There's others there. They're all okay. Or you can just brute force and go through the question pool. So, any questions?
Not so. What is the technician will allow us to do what?
Technician will allow you to operate on VHF and UHF bands.
Okay.
Which is what most handy talkies, most of those cover two bands,
Right.
The 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands, which is 144 megahertz and 440 megahertz. And that will allow you to do direct line of sight, which typically you can do about 5 miles between two people, or talk to a repeater. And depending on where the repeater is, basically how high the antenna is. If it's on top of a, 10, 12-story building, you might get 30-mile radius.
Okay.
We have one here on top of the VAB at NASA that's a little over 500 feet, and it has about a 40-mile radius.
Wow.
So pretty much most of the county can access that one.
Gotcha. Is there a listing anywhere of clubs,
Um,
or is it just a matter of getting on social networking and say, "Hey, we got a club anywhere?"
the ARRL site has a link on it to find a club. Now, they'll only list clubs that are associated with ARRL, but most of them are.
Gotcha.
And also, you can find on the internet the repeater handbook, which you can download, and it lists all of the repeaters all over the country.
Okay. That'll be helpful, especially for traveling.
Okay.